Sarah just like goes, there's butt fucking on stage. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And Sarah goes, they say in the opening number, there's going to be butt fucking on stage. That's what they say. And then they deliver. Birdie normally doesn't use my computer, but back before Birdie had a computer, they had an account on my computer. And then occasionally, if my computer's just lying around, Birdie will go back in and use their account. But then they like leave windows open, and then my computer makes noises and it drains the battery. And I'm like, what's happening? And then I find out.
It's really hard. It's hard for a parent to have anywhere that is truly just their own domain, including the virtual domain of a computer.
It's true. How do you feel?
I feel fine. I made it through yesterday.
I didn't post on purpose, you know. I was like, I went back and forth about it. And like, by the way, I could have just like fucking asked you. But I thought after our conversation last week, I was like, I want you to just have your birthday and not have to like have any more feelings about it. And then this morning I woke up and I was like, was that the right call? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what was the right call. I can't say whether or not posting was the right call because I haven't thought about it. But I think the right call is that you were thoughtful about it and like went with what your gut was on it.
My gut was that like I would have my like initial first instinct is like Caissie's, you know, whatever. It's your birthday and blah 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 blah. And like you should be we should all celebrate everything and you are in 50 years is blah, you know.
Yeah.
And then I was like, she literally said, this is hard for her. Why don't I just let her have it however it is, however it needs to be for you?
Yes.
In case you didn't notice, I didn't post a goddamn thing yesterday. Because I was like I was in such a state of like frozen Instagram-ness.
Yeah.
But I like had called you and texted you and like I felt like, yeah, I just felt like I don't want to post because I didn't want, you know, I do have more followers. Listen, let's just be real.
Yes.
I don't know if you needed
more.
those few million people to know that it was your 50th birthday or your birthday at all, if it was a birthday that was causing you some internal strife. So, yeah, so I chose not to, but then I was like really having like meltdowns about it, but then I was okay, but then I'm glad. Well, anyway. I'm making it about me now. So what?
No,
how?
I mean, I think the fact that you were thoughtful about it, and you did, you texted me, and then we were laughing because like you tried to call me and it went right to voicemail, because that's a thing that I want to talk about later about why my phone went right to voicemail. Because it's a conundrum. But it was good. It was the day before my birthday. Matt, I think we do this thing in our family knowing that I don't love surprises. That's like a soft surprise. So he was like, a few people are going to come over to the backyard to like say hi and to have drinks outside.
Great.
And so he made some deviled eggs, and
My favorite.
Love a deviled egg, and he's so good at it. He's a virtuoso of making deviled eggs, and made some cocktails. And Lincoln came back from his month-long house sitting job to and ran to the Thai place on the corner to get Crab Rangoons, which is like my other
favorite too.
fave snack.
So weird that we have two of our favorite. Well, I guess it's white trash. Let's be real.
Yeah, it's probably.
I'm sorry, it is.
I don't know what the origin of crab rangoons are, but I know that they serve them at Chinese restaurants in Massachusetts and Thai restaurants here. So I think it's sometimes I do feel like I have to figure out exactly what the origins are.
I mean, I kind of feel like it's just like, I don't know what it is.
Well,
I mean, it's like it feels very Midwestern.
It does.
Because
and they're
like
cream cheese, like very dairy heavy, which I know cheese isn't often an ingredient in Asian cuisine, in my experience. So who knows? But they are delicious. So if I'm going to eat them all the time, like pretty constantly, like once a week, I should look into like what the deal is with them. But so anyway, yeah, some friends came over. My friend Kristen Bartlett, who I always assume that you know, and her husband Jason Gore, they're in entertainment, but you've never met, of course. But Kristen is the person that is famous for like when Meghan McCain tweeted that New York City was, Kristen was like, we live in the same building, Meghan. I just went outside. It's fine.
Oh, Kristen's responsible
for driving Meghan McCain from Manhattan. Yes.
Guys, that's what
that's what Meghan McCain would love us to believe. She never returned after that tweet that Kristen did. And the great Rebecca Metz, who also I don't think you know, she's from the show Better Things, among other things.
Nope, don't know her.
But she and her husband came over. Heather Matarazzo came over. Josh, our editor, and his wife Vanessa came over. And our friend Janie Haddad, who just recovered from COVID.
The Coves.
Yeah. And Paul F. Tompkins was not able to come because he still has like a few lingering COVID germs. But so anyway, we just had a small thing where we had drinks and snacks and everybody enthusiastically ate every last deviled egg, which I was excited about because sometimes that's not the case. So that's how you know you have a good group of friends. Like if they get down on a platter of deviled eggs and they aren't snobs about it. Because I even think like sometimes people love deviled eggs and they pretend that they don't. Like they're putting on airs, like they don't like deviled eggs.
There are people in my life that will stick their nose up at a deviled egg.
Yeah. So, so I felt really fortunate that I was like, this is a group that is just shoveling deviled eggs into their mouths, even when Matt replenished the tray.
I'm jealous. I'm just jealous.
I know. I felt so sad. And also, Keisha was going to come, but I don't know, something happened. Our friend Keisha, who worked on Busy Tonight, was going to come, and Ashley was out of town. Ashley Nicole Black is out of town shooting something.
I
miss Keisha so much, too. Now, this is just a podcast where we're naming people that you might not know, but here's...
Wait, is that a thing? Can that be the podcast?
We're just name dropping people that are our friends that you might not know. But here's what I will say. All these people are really worth looking into. And some of them you do know, or some of them you might know, but you might not know that you know them.
I have an update.
Yeah.
Crab Rangoon, the origin is the United States. It was on the menu of the Polynesian-style restaurant, in quotes, Trader Vic's in San Francisco.
Of course.
Since around 1956.
Yeah.
The appetizer is allegedly derived from an authentic Burmese recipe. However, the dish was invented probably in the United States by Joe Young, working under Victor Bergerson, founder of Trader Vic's.
Okay.
A Rangoon crab a la Jack was mentioned as a dish at a Hawaiian-style party in 1952, but without further detail, and so may or may not be the same thing.
That makes a lot of sense because, okay, this is something that I have studied a little bit on my own.
It feels so 50s, and this is why
it's so 50s.
This is why you and I like it.
Yes,
because we have parents that fed us 50s food. Sorry, Mom. You did.
No, it's true. And also, there's this really interesting article. Well, it's interesting to me. I don't know if it is to you, but there is this like inauthentic Chinese food that is what I grew up on. Even though like some of the restaurants in New England where I grew up were owned by Chinese families and run by Chinese families, it wasn't really authentic Chinese cuisine. It was this like cuisine that was popularized to
It was
American.
called like American Chinese.
Yeah.
Right?
And, yes.
That's because they mentioned that in that Wikipedia article.
Yes. And it's heavily Polynesian influenced, but I'm sure it's also not even authentically Polynesian at this point. It's so delicious to me. I know it's not authentic and it certainly isn't healthy for you, but really the only place it exists is in New England and in
Arizona.
Los Angeles.
Arizona.
Oh, okay.
A poo-poo platter?
A poo-poo platter. I know.
And I believe like wherever, Chicago, where my parents
really
were from. Yes.
Well, I think the only
Because
place it remains is New England and Los Angeles. I think most of those places have fallen by the wayside, but
maybe in Scottsdale still though.
Yeah, maybe it's possible, but it was a really rude awakening to me to move to New York City and order Chinese food for the first time and get like what I assume is like more authentic Chinese food and be like, I don't know what this is. I've never had this. Where's the bright red pie filling sauce?
Right. I guess these Polynesian themed restaurants were a thing in like the 50s and 60s.
Yes. And
right?
like probably like everything from the decor to was like probably not authentic and probably offensive is what I'm guessing.
Guys, this is just the least well-researched. I mean, that's not true, but like we're just live Googling things.
Yes.
This is actually like hanging out with friends. You know, when people are like, I like your podcast because it's like hanging out with my friends. It is because, you know, this is like exactly the conversation you have with your friends at a dinner party where you're like, wait, do you remember poo-poo platters? And then somebody's like, was that a thing? What is it? Where does it come from? Someone Googles it and reads it to the table. So here is me, the person that's going to read it to the table. A poo-poo platter is a tray of American Chinese or Hawaiian food consisting of an assortment of small meat and seafood appetizers. The Thrillist called the poo-poo platter an amalgam of Americanized Chinese food, Hawaiian tradition, and bar food, which is like exactly what it was and why I loved it as a child. The poo-poo platter was probably first introduced to restaurants in the United States, on the United States mainland by Don Beach in 1934.
Of course, his name was Don Beach.
Totally. And then, of course, Don's and Trader Vic's.
Trader Vic's spread a lot of this invented culture.
Yeah, this was in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah. So
egg rolls, spare ribs, chicken wings, chicken fingers,
yes.
beef teriyaki, skewered beef, fried wontons, crab rangoon, fried shrimp, and then accompanied sometimes by a small hibachi grill.
Yes.
Which was always my favorite
The fire,
part.
that's like, yeah, you get like
the fire was like, the best part.
A sterno in the middle of this like wooden bowl. And then of course like your parents, maybe if you went to like one of these restaurants, your parents would maybe get like a scorpion bowl to drink, which like is just like basically a toilet full of liquor with 2 straws and an umbrella. That's how big it is. And they're still doing that. Still doing that on Cape Cod, going strong. With a giant toilet bowl of liquor and a poo-poo platter. But yeah, that's what I was raised on. It's so funny to me because like even our place in Canada, like we ordered quote unquote Chinese food one night and it was just like everything tasted like donuts. Like it was all in balls and it was all coated with like that breading of chicken fingers, but it tasted all like donuts to me. And I was like, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. Is it just this restaurant? Is it this region? Or like are we stuck in time somewhere? But anyway, I will say that I have come to know some authentic Chinese cuisine and it's very delicious and Los Angeles has everything, but also like there's that little part of me that still loves that like poo-poo platter junk food. But especially Crab Rangoons. Like, this is knowing yourself. This is what it means to be 50, is that, like, you could get a poo-poo platter and, and that would be wonderful. But there's also something great about knowing that you could also just get like a double order of crab rangoons, and that would be fine. You don't need to mess with like anything else.
Yeah, I'm into it.
And I prefer the ones that have the imitation crab meat in them. Like if they have real crab meat. No. I know. I should just learn to make them myself, to be honest, because then I could like never risk getting a real piece of crab meat. That's such a downer when I like bite into one from a place and I'm like, no, it's real crab. No.
I mean, honestly, bless your heart, that's never happened to me.
When someone tries to level it up a little bit and make it a little fancier and they put real crab in and I'm like destroyed.
No,
but so anyway,
not happening.
Yeah, that's me. That's my dietary habits. It was so nice to see everyone and outdoors, which was, I really am very grateful that people were willing to sit outdoors. And then yesterday we just had like casual like home dinner, and then the boys and my husband gave me little prezzies, and it was nice. But here is the most remarkable thing is that, and I'm sure you saw this if you looked on Instagram, even though you didn't post, is that, again, we're talking about, well, okay, so two things. The fireplace that our Busy Phillips is doing her best Facebook group organized to purchase as a gift for me and send across the country. My son finally finished like doing little restorative things to it so that it would, last as long as it's possible. He put it up in my yard and it looks so great and so beautiful. But also that Facebook group, which, by the way, all I ever did, Biz, I know I'm telling you about the Facebook group constantly. All I ever did was like make that group on Facebook. I haven't done anything to like lead it or to like tell anyone what they should be doing in it. I just made the group, invited people to join, and I put the episodes up there. The rest is all of them. And a woman in the group, Amy, did a post where she was like, I have an idea for Caissie's birthday, but I don't want her to see it. So anyone who's interested, message me and we'll talk in private messages. And I was like, I did see that, but then I didn't like pry or whatever. But she organized trying to get people to do 50 acts of kindness for my 50th birthday.
Oh my God, that's so nice.
So nice. But what it resulted in is more than 100 donations to Everytown for gun safety. People, amazing. And it was triply amazing because yesterday the donations were being tripled by, I think, Bloomberg. I'm happy to take some of Mike Bloomberg's money and give it to Everytown. But people did all kinds of things. They made formula donations to like food banks for babies. They did things for people in their lives that needed a hand with something. People made donations to abortion funds, all kinds of things. This. They made like a beautiful map where people could put where they lived and like what they did. And so it was like a map of the United States showing like where everyone contributed. Not even just the United States, all over the world. So like UK and Australia, people were doing things and it was amazing.
Well, did that make you feel any kind of way about your birthday?
It made me feel so wonderful because, I mean, yeah, like to feel like your birthday, like a thing that you feel weird and strange about could be like useful in some way, because I know a lot of times when you are thinking about making a donation for something, you're just like, it's hard, like it's hectic and everybody has a lot on their mind and you're like, oh, I need to do that when I get the right moment. But sometimes there can be like a thing where you're like, oh, this is the moment to do it. Like this is the reason because I want to, participate in this thing that was organized. Like I want to be a part of this. And so it made me feel so great, but also just like, I just was so impressed. I'm just so impressed with the folks in the Facebook group because they really just do all this amazing stuff on their own. It's just like when we talk about the community that we made and like I just feel so super proud. I feel super proud because that's what we always wanted to do. And, you know, it's a small community, but it's mighty. Melissa from the States Project keeps emailing us with updates of how many people have done a giving circle. And
she's obsessed.
It's just more and more. And also even this couple they made it their wedding registry. This couple that listens to the podcast, they're going across the country. They're documenting their like wedding trip across the country. And that's what their whole giving circle is. And it's just amazing. I shared it in our stories, so you can follow them and give money if you want. But it's just wonderful. You guys, I don't even know how to describe like the generosity and, organization. We have a lot of organized bitches listening to this podcast.
I'm grateful for it and engaged and like continually engaged. And people who I think, I don't know, I read a lot of the comments. I like look at a lot of the things, and it feels like it's not just people who are like, I don't know. You guys just feel like very like-minded. You know what I mean? And the thing like that we've always sort of said too, like, or why I think, you know, when I've like been asked, like why I think my Instagram at the time and like my Instagram stories resonated. Just this like, there are more people out there like me than not like me in some ways. And they aren't really they don't have stuff that's being like made for them. I don't have stuff that's being made for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is why we wanted to like change that, you and me.
Right.
And like make stuff for us.
Right.
Because it's also like, I don't know. It's nice.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking a lot about it, and oh my gosh, and I'm blanking on her name, but this woman who's been like really making a political name for herself recently, being outspoken.
From Michigan?
Yes.
With the red hair?
Yes, the red-haired, the red-haired woman.
Mm-hmm.
But
sure.
Recently she said this quote that's very famous, and I've heard it a million times. You know, words without deeds are dead, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and yeah, I've heard it with like words without action is nothing. And I think that is what is so amazing about this community is that, you know, I can scroll Instagram and see people sharing memes and like good points all day.
Yes.
But our Facebook group, like there is no words without action ever. Everybody is like, they're just on it. And sharing words feels good, and it feels good to get people to agree with you and say, yeah, like that's an excellent point, and that's exactly how I think. And that is important to some extent. But it really is like the action and like whatever you can do to take action on something. And so that's just really meaningful to me. And I admire people that do it because I'm not always the type of person that can like jump up and take action right away. Like sometimes I'm standing there thinking about it a little too long. So they're a good example for me. And I'm just really, really proud of all of them and all of the work that they've been doing, because I think even people that aren't able to make donations, I just see them saying like, I didn't have the extra money this time, but here's what I did, you know, whatever. And it's just cool to have people sharing that kind of stuff because we just really need people to do what they can right now. You know?
100%. I do know. Yeah, I very much fucking know.
I know.
Elementary.
I think it's just Element.
I know, but I like Elementary. All right, Elementary.
The product is called Element, but the it's spelled LMNT.
I know, but I like that I get to say Elementary.
I know, it's a good song. Okay. It's a good jingle.
Guys, and I also like that Element are the electrolytes that are for you, for me, for everyone, even if you're not an athlete. Way better than drinking a sugary sports drink.
Yes.
Also, Electrolytes are very important. It is important to replenish electrolytes. Whether you've woken up the morning after having a couple glasses of wine, I don't know, or tequila, or maybe you're like working out hard and it's the summer.
And I mean, electrolyte science is like, it exists.
Well, it's why athletes drink electrolytes. It's like why marathon people that get into marathon running or half marathon running, like understand, they learn about this stuff.
Right.
Electrolytes facilitate hundreds of functions in your body, including the conduction of nerve impulses, hormonal regulation, nutrient absorption, and fluid balance. Think about that when you're in that time of the month.
Yes.
It can eliminate headaches, muscle cramps, fatigue, sleeplessness. Those are like very common symptoms of electrolyte deficiency. And that's where Element comes in. You guys, I want you to try it, especially in these summer months. I'm telling you, it will make a difference. It makes a difference. And I will just say, like, even my mom at some point was like complaining about, I don't know, I just feel really, I'm exhausted and I just feel so fatigued and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Mom, are you drinking the electrolytes in your water? Sent her the electrolytes. Game changer. Right now, LMNT is offering my listeners, our listeners, a free sample pack with any order. It's 8 single serving packets free with any LMNT order. First of all, it's a great way to try all 8 flavors, or you can share Element with a friend who might need it, like my mom. I shared it with my mom. Go to drinklmnt.com/best. The deal's only available through that special link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/best. Also, try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, you can share it with a salty friend, and they'll give it your money back. No questions asked. Wow, you got nothing to lose. It's amazing. I'm telling you, do it. Oh, I just love that sound. I love it.
It's the sound of another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. You know who uses Shopify?
Who's that?
We do.
Yes, we do.
We use Shopify on Brave Gowns to sell our merchandise to
all of you.
To all of you. So if you've purchased merch from us, you've already used Shopify.
But Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources that were once reserved for only big businesses. So upstarts, startups, established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. You guys, our podcast started out selling our merch.
And today we're selling more merch.
And we are not stopping there because there will be more merch. I mean, but honestly, it's so great. The Shopify has tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed, from down the street to around the globe.
I mean, we are literally the definition of a small business. And if we can figure out how to use it, it's very simple.
Yeah. And I think that, listen, you can reach customers online across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and more. And you can gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins. It's more than a store. Shopify grows with you. This is a possibility. You want to start your business? You want to sell some stuff? Go to shopify.com/herbest, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/herbest, all lowercase, right now. Shopify.com/herbest.
How are you? How was your weekend?
It was good. I mean, it was like weird to have like Mark and my like situation out in the world.
Yeah.
That was kind of a little weird. Like we both felt, you know, there's like the emotional hangovers, right, guys?
Yeah.
Like, you know what that is. And we both felt a little like just a little like off kilter, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just like a little bit jarring.
Yeah.
But not bad. Like, just like, okay, now we're in this next phase of this thing, right? Which is good, but like also feels different. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I felt like for the most part, like, okay with how the information was sort of disseminated and kind of like put into the world. But I also didn't read any of the articles of people that picked up the information. So I guess that's, you know, that was my choice.
Do you want to know anything?
No, I don't. I actually don't because don't, because again, it doesn't matter and it doesn't actually exist.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's already gone. Like it's not anywhere. I know that Mark got upset about one of the articles and I said to him, okay, well, it's gone already. Like it's not even there anymore. So like, you know, and I understand his point too. Like, you know, for him, it's also like you Google his name and it's not the best feeling, but I'm like, who's Googling your name, dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like, not to be a jerk, but like, you know, you write movies, like everybody that you're in business with, you write in direct movies.
Yeah.
Everybody that you are in business with know you. Like, no one's, like, I don't know. It just, so much of this like celebrity clickbait culture is just so stupid that it is almost staggering. Yeah. And it has affected the way that people talk about one another and celebrities. Yeah. You know? And I was thinking a lot, because I've been thinking a lot about toxic masculinity, obviously, in recent lifetimes. But specifically, like, in the last few years, several years, right? Like, it's been a thing that I've really been looking at. And how am I participatory in misogynistic behavior? Like, how am I upholding a patriarchal idea of the world? And what values am I highlighting or, like, you know, giving power to, that at their very core, it's like a deeply patriarchal, misogynistic, maybe even white supremacist value. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's like a thing that I've been really hypercritical about for myself for many, many years, since I like became a mother. And, you know, a lot of it started with like weight stuff, you know, like I started with that, like, because I was just looking at like the kinds of ideas that had been kind of presented to me and in ways that I didn't have control over as a little person. And then, you know, and as a woman, a girl. Yeah. And so it was about like the first things I sort of started to be critical of my own self and challenge my own ideas and values was about weight and appearance, and how I talk about those things about myself, about others, if I talk about others if I judge others silently, but then to make the conscious effort, we've certainly talked ad nauseum about this. I've fucking talked about it in interviews or whatever, to make the conscious decision in parenting that I would try to rectify a lot of my behaviors, even if like my brain wasn't quite there yet. Like even if I still was holding some of these beliefs, but that in the name of trying to put an end to some bullshit, that I would try to parent in a consciously different way, right? So that was like sort of like where I started. And then like as it does and as it is, like you go along and you like identify other areas. And I think that gossip is a huge tool of the patriarchy. And it is a huge tool of oppression and of not allowing others to live freely outside of an ingrained like patriarchal white supremacist norm.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And to like put a finer, like you've said this like brilliantly articulate thing, to be less articulate, like men gossip too. Men are some of the biggest gossips that I've known in my life, but they don't seem to pay any price for it. But I think that women get drawn into gossip in some situations, and it seems like some woman often pays the price for a big gossipy story. It's a tool and it's a distraction, as people are always trying to tell us, because we really get stuck in it.
We really get stuck in it. And, you know, even if you just take a gander at headlines of like gossip magazines, they are weighted heavily toward misogynistic and patriarchal language and ideas. And these are publications that are really like their target main audience are women,
right?
Other women,
right?
And it's reinforcing these ideas that are just, you know, and it's even in the language. We talk about the language, like, you know, Trayvon Martin, young man, the kid, see, and then the kid who shot up. Right. See, there you go. Like, I just did it. But
Kyle Rittenhouse is a boy.
That's who I was, by the way, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But like Kyle Rittenhouse is like a boy.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, we
know,
even did it to Brett Kavanaugh. People were like, Brett Kavanaugh, like, people were acting like Brett Kavanaugh was a teenager. And I'm like, is he a teenager or is he qualified to be on the Supreme Court?
I hate him so fucking much. It is unbelievable how much I hate him.
He has what, when I was a kid, other kids referred to as a hit me face. Violence is wrong.
Listen, a punchable face. And I'm not going to, Caissie, I want to say something to you and like you guys listening. I'm sorry. There are no more per capita. The most punchable faces are in Massachusetts.
No, I think you're right.
I'm so sorry.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's like, When that summer we were in Boston, I was like constantly like, no wonder everyone's in fights all the time. So many punchable faces around here. And I'm sorry, Massachusetts. I'm sorry. I'm really apologizing in advance. We love you.
I think people who are from Massachusetts who are listening to this podcast will be able to take a look to their left and right and be like, you know what? There's a lot of punchable faces in this state.
I hope so.
I've told you my theory, right, about like, okay, the Massachusetts accent, the Boston accent is so complicated for an actor to portray. It has so many subtleties to it, and nobody does it properly. Nobody. And it's so annoying if you're from Massachusetts to hear someone be like, oh, park the car and have it, yeah. You know, and you're just like, no, nobody says that's not how anyone here talks. It's ridiculous what you're doing. The only actor that does a Massachusetts accent properly is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
But further is that it's because he is also doing the face, which is the classic Massachusetts punchable face.
It's a punchable face.
That's why he's like fully giving you the full package of what it means to be from Massachusetts. I agree. Leonardo DiCaprio deserves an Oscar, as we would call it, in Massachusetts for fully embodying what it means to be from the Bay State. I also think
that the Affleck brothers access their punchable faces when they do that. And
yes.
You know, but they're from there.
Yeah, they're from there, so they have, you know, they're just tapping into...
And same with Matt Damon, although he refuses to at this point in his career. Why would he?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? He's on a whole other journey that is just like... I never thought I would see the day. I always root for someone from Massachusetts, but I just feel like Matt Damon is on some weird journey where suddenly he turned into like a boomer, and he's like... Clint Eastwood all of a sudden.
He like got so old all of a sudden.
And I'm like, why are you talking like you're like a 90-year-old man and doing like weird, I don't know.
Can I just say something though? But this speaks to what we talked about last week vis-a-vis your birthday, which is that like, honestly, you're just as old as you think you are, you know? And for whatever reason, he's living that like,
Matt Damon thinks
boomer
92.
Life.
Yeah, he's like a boomer.
I mean, by the way, my mom isn't as like out of touch as Matt Damon is.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know what happened, but it's very. And then I'm like, was this always in him? Was this always going to happen? Like, I don't know. Who knows? Or did something?
It's good questions to ask.
They're all good questions, but anyway, yeah. I mean, you're right. You're right, though. I mean, like. I told you one time that like I tried to go into Dunkin' Donuts, the official state beverage of Massachusetts. I tried to go into a Dunkin' Donuts in Boston, like in a metropolitan area of Boston. And I was behind a bunch of businessmen, white collar businessmen, ordering coffees. And like one got like a blueberry flavored iced coffee. And the rest of the businessmen bullied him. For lack of a better word, like right there, live bullied him in a Boston Dunkin' Donuts because he ordered a fruit coffee. Ugh. And I was like, you're all 40. What the fuck you all have jobs at like in financial institutions. What's happening?
Truly, that like encapsulates all of it. Truly. I really think so.
It's very weird. And also every professional athlete I've ever known or met in my life, they all say they dread playing in Boston more than any other town. And, you know, I'm like, I get it. I understand.
Yeah, I get it too. I truly do.
There's a lot to love about Massachusetts and a lot to love about Boston, but there's, you know, there's a lot of punchable moments happening there. A lot of, you know, metaphorically punchable. We're not really punching anyone. But anyway, back to like the gossip thing. back to the gossip thing. Here's one thing I will say, if I may. I know you didn't read the articles, but it's not very often that I'm like tangentially related to like gossip that spreads like wildfire over like magazine articles, everything. Here's what I was struck by is that it all clearly originated from just one thing that one person wrote in a rush. And every outlet just went with it. Like they didn't do their own research. They didn't independently confirm anything. So here's like, for example, here's what I noticed. A lot of people said Busy Phillips talked about it on her podcast. She told her co-hosts that this is what was happening. And every single article said that. So it all just came from one place. Like, I know it's just a small detail, but this podcast currently only has one co-host. I was the only person there.
Wait, why did you just turn into...
Oops, I lost you.
A robot?
You're still there?
Something bad is happening, is what I said.
What? What's happening?
I just texted you. You said you froze or I froze, and I just wrote something bad is happening. I don't know what's happening, but something bad. I like literally don't know what's happening. Something is happening with my fucking computer. It's too hot.
Busy's blowing on her computer.
Should I get a block of ice and set it underneath it? I'm not kidding. Should I get like ice?
It's just like running and running.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. I don't know if that will help, but you could certainly try.
It? Like, you know, when you have your phone in an infrared sauna, for instance.
Oh my God.
And it starts to short out.
This is and maybe then you have to put the most relatable problem, but guys, I have actually experienced it.
Listen, people are into infrared saunas now. Anyway.
Oh my God. I have experienced it.
Hold on.
Something cool under there? Okay.
I think I'm going to try it. Hold on.
Going to get ice to put under her computer.
Like, you know what I need? I need like a little mini Helix cool mattress for my computer.
You do? Oh my God.
Hold on. I'll be right back. I have this thing my mom sent me for migraines. It's like a little thing you put on it's like a cooling pack for your head that like goes around your head.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I'm just going to set my computer on it for a minute.
Just give it a try. What does that mean? It's like computer menopause.
Just shut up, because I don't want to talk about menopause right now. Not today.
Your computer's like, I'm sorry. I'm older and I get hot.
It's like, same computer. I get it. I fucking get it. But I need you to be strong in this moment. Do you see that I kind of have like a swollen eye?
Yeah, what happened? Yeah.
Well,
did you punch a little too hard
in the face? I punched myself in the face. I kind of have a punchable face sometimes. So do you. Listen.
I'm from Massachusetts.
I know. I'm not, but like, just like, I get it. That was also like unfortunate for me in that you were like, obviously one place wrote an article and then everybody else just wrote articles based on that article. And they said like hosts, which is like a minor point, but it isn't actually. It's actually like the exact point I'm trying to make, which is just like everyone is just full of shit. You know what I mean? And you can't trust anything. And then like unfortunately for me, you know, people tagged me and stuff, which is just like, don't, guys. Don't do it. And so I wasn't even like really looking, but like when I look at the hearts, right?
Yeah.
Like I ended up seeing some unfavorable people saying shit about me, which I was like, I didn't need that in my, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in like torturing myself by someone's rude ass thing they feel like spouting off online and but however you also just like don't want it in your head,
right period. Which is so hard once once
you're tagged
that's a rough thing. I was really proud of the way, because I was a little bit worried about like when we posted about the episode, I was a little bit worried about what the comments would be. And, you know, just because like sometimes people, well, it's like we've talked about on the podcast, like some people cannot resist saying holy shit when someone died, as if that's an appropriate response to the death of someone. You know what I mean? Like I was a little worried that people would just say rough things or say insensitive things, but I think everybody on our team, everybody who listens to the podcast and are friends of ours, I think we're pretty sensitive and lovely about it and not like gossipy or prying or whatever. I was worried that a bunch of people would say like, I knew it or whatever. You know what I mean?
I did see a fair amount of that, which was annoying to me because I was like,
good for you.
Okay. Just also FYI, I want to say this, like, don't ever say that to anyone about anything ever. That's just a good rule. Like if your friend who you've known since high school is like, I actually came out last year and I'm in a relationship, saying I knew it is not helpful.
It means that you were like mentally gossiping about your friend for the longest time.
Or gossiping.
Or gossiping.
Gossiping.
Yeah.
If your friend is like, oh guys, you know what? My partner and I have decided to separate. We're going separate ways. I knew it. Not the response.
No.
Your child comes home and is like, well, I'm failing science. I knew it. Not a great response. No one wants to hear I knew it ever.
No.
Because guess what? Good for you, question mark? What do you want? A fucking medal? You knew it? Based on what? Based on the clues that were being given to you via Instagram? Based on me weeping at commercial? Like, you knew it. Okay. Well, guess what? Also, you could have known it because, like, you could have heard me talking in a fucking restaurant or, like, any number or whatever.
This is what I want to ask. How is someone supposed to respond to that when you say something like, I knew it? Is the person supposed to say, well, this has been terrible for me and my family, but I'm glad some good could come out of it for you. I'm glad.
Oh my God, that's actually genius. By the way, do you know what I did just on that day?
What?
I just went to all those people's like profiles and blocked them.
Oh, good. Well, good. That is good.
I knew it really is fucking a bummer to me.
Yeah, like if you heard a rumor about it, that's all it was a rumor until the person who it's happening to, or, you know, the persons who it's happening to, until they tell you. It's not true until the person tells you. You know what I mean? Like prior to that, it's just a rumor. And so you shouldn't like traffic in rumors or whatever. It's difficult. I know it's tempting.
But this is what I'm saying. Caissie, no one loves gossip. No one previously
right.
in my life.
Previously on Busy
Phillips's life. No one has loved fucking gossip more than me. I used to fucking live for it.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people, close friends of mine, were like, I can't believe Michelle is having another baby. And I was like, I know. I have just turned a fucking corner where I'm like, what someone is doing, whether they are public. Now, Michelle's a special, obviously, she's famous.
Right.
But like, whether it is my famous friends or my non-famous friends, guess what? Not talking about it. I'm not fucking talking about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Unless we're all together and they want to fucking talk about it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
This is my newest way to fight the patriarchy.
Yeah. I mean, I think we got to attack the patriarchy on all fronts, and we might as well give gossip a try. And here's what I will say. I do think there is such a thing as harmless gossip. Like, say, like if a person who's on a podcast farted. Yeah, I think that's pretty harmless. Or like say that, you know, I thought that Ben Affleck and J-Lo were remaking the Jenny from the Block video. I think that's like a pretty harmless speculation. That's fun speculation.
Well, that was like a wish. That was a wish
wish
that you were putting into the universe.
Like, I kind of think that
we're disappointed now?
I'm
You
not
think they were? And
I
then
think
they changed course?
and like maybe I ruined it. Is that talk about making it about yourself? I think
Whoa.
like yeah. And I think they're not being honest about it now. They're like, that girl ruined it and now we can't do it, but we have to act like we never were doing it. But I mean, that's really centering myself in a situation that has nothing to do with me.
I'm kind of into it. I kind of want you to center yourself in more situations that has nothing to do with you. Yeah. Wow. But I do just want to like say, because I think that we're good. Here's what I think about our community that we're building. I think we're good with a mission and a task. And like, this has been mine recently, is to like, yeah, like really understand the difference of what you're talking about and why. Now, Birdie and I recently got kind of into it about Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles because I was trying to course correct some misogynistic messaging that Birdie was like parroting from the internet about, Olivia Wilde's age, the fact that she has kids, like whatever, all this fucking bull. I don't know. I haven't actually looked at the TikToks. All I know is how the information was then put into my impressionable teen's brain, and how then I could like try to help Birdie think a little bit more critically about the ideas that were being presented, because I think that like we all sort of have become complicit in the headlines, the misogynistic headlines. And like you and I talked about a publication recently that I always had thought of as being very feminist forward. And of late, I'm just like, every single headline feels so deeply misogynistic, and like I can't get behind it. Like I'm not here for it.
Right.
And I want us to not be fucking numb to it. Like if you hear your kid saying something, anything about another kid or a celebrity that they like, to make sure that you are hearing the values that are the underlying thing that they're saying. And then I challenge us to do it for ourselves too.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. We're all trying to find like a bright spot and like things that we can relate to each other on, things that we're like mutually interested in. And so gossip is a place that feels like, it can feel good in the moment to gossip. But yeah, I think pointing it out with celebrities is like kind of an interesting move, because you can really have that talk with you, because you're not always going to know, like what's going on in your kids' lives and like who these, they're talking about a classmate or whatever. You're not always going to know the context, but celebrity is like an interesting place where you do know the context, because, more or less. And so you can kind of like call it out and ask.
But it's not even like we don't know. I don't know the truth behind anyone's intimate relationship.
Right.
Whether or not I know them personally a little bit or professionally a little bit. Like and this was the point I was trying to make to the bird, and also the point that I would like to impart to everyone who knew it, is like, whatever people think that they know, a piece, a bit, a whatever.
Right.
But you're not in it with the people who you're talking about. And so think about how your assumptions, your words, like might be impacted by your own sort of like internalized misogyny and like internalized patriarchal beliefs, That's all.
That's why I think the celebrity exercise is really interesting, and it's a really good talking point, because everybody knows everybody quote unquote knows the same information. You know what I mean? Like everybody has
Right.
the same context. So when somebody's saying something like about Olivia Wilde or J-Lo or whoever, Martha Stewart,
Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
Yes.
That has been so fascinating and not a thing that I particularly want to even get into.
Well, just the amount of
it,
the amount of attention that's been paid to that trial when the things that are going on in the world for the rest of people is
the fact that people know so many details about it and they like literally don't know that you can't, if you're having a miscarriage in Texas or Oklahoma or like 9 other states right now and you're past a certain number of weeks, like you will get turned away at the hospital and they literally tell you to come back when you're in sepsis. That's true.
Right.
You don't get a DNC.
Right.
You don't get the help you need.
Right.
They're like, we can't do it. We can't. It's a liability. Our insurance won't let us. Bye.
This one pooped in the bed and that one's missing a finger. I get it. Like the details, like I said, it's very intoxicating. It's very tempting. But that's why I'm just thinking back and I know that I have, because I'm like who I am and where I was born and raised and the time in which I have lived, like I know that I've participated in this stuff. And I also know that I kind of have a unique perspective because I've actually known people who are famous, who have been like the subject of big, juicy gossip stories that have taken the world by storm. And it's really interesting to see it from that vantage point where you actually know the person. And and I'm here to say, like, you never know, like, a tenth of it. You never know a tenth of it.
And so, like...
And you don't want to either.
Also, it's not for her, you know what I mean? It's like, so you just have to understand, like, it's not for you. But just, I don't know. That's just been that's been one of the things I've thought about in the last several years is like how to course correct that kind of behavior of my own in my home and with my friends and to think critically about why I feel the way I do about certain things.
Right.
Like let's just take it to your own, like outside of celebrity culture, like gossiping about someone who you think is having an affair.
Right.
Okay. Like, why? What is it that it's triggering in you that you want to get to the root of?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Is it that you're trying to figure out how you could spot it in your own relationship? Is the idea that it means something to be partnered and then it means something to be unpartnered? And
right.
What is that?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying there are easy questions or answers.
No, but it's worth, is it that like if you're engaging in gossip about someone that's rumored to be having an affair that's in like your social circle, are you trying to like signal to the other person whether you approve or disapprove or you understand, or that maybe you know this information because of like the level of your relationship with someone who's involved? Is that important for you to communicate?
Mm-hmm.
Like what is it?
Oh, like the hierarchical benefits of being on the in the know.
Right.
Like, it's so interesting.
It's
but like,
really...
unless we all start kind of like acknowledging it and talking about it, I kind of feel like in a weird way too, for me, moving to a totally different place has been kind of amazing because I don't have the same kinds of relationships that I did, like they're all sort of new. So you get to set the tone a bit more, you know?
And you're not there
Resetting-
yet where
Right.
people are, you don't know each other like that, where people are like, I have to tell you the wildest thing. And you're
Well,
like,
sometimes people do that.
really?
People do that with me a lot, just like on the street, Caissie. You know?
Yeah, well, that makes some sense.
People feel like information is capital, which is like what you were saying before, like the hierarchical thing of like who has the information, what does it mean, who gets to hold the information. And so like a statement of like, I knew it is a statement of like power, right?
Right.
I have power over everyone else.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do have like a practical question though, since we're on the topic. Say like a man hit on you. Like a married man like hit on you and that you were like friendly with the wife or whatever. How would you handle that?
I don't know. That's never happened to me.
It's never happened to you?
Oh, Gina. No, wait, hold on.
Okay.
No. Not Gina, just casually carrying a piece of art that my friend made for me. That's rolled up like a poster. I was going to go get a frame for it. Just casually carrying it in her mouth.
Like a bone.
It was up on this thing. She like obviously got it down off the shelf. Just casually carrying it away to go tear it up.
Just
like,
priceless art she's going to eat.
She's literally like, this piece of art is mine now, and I'm going to go tear it up in the corner. Thank you. I mean, it was fully Caissie in her mouth.
It's like a rolled up, very long, like piece of art.
It's a piece of art. It's like it's a piece of art that my friend made for me.
And Gina was just going to eat it up. And she was
for staying here. Gunnar, my friend Gunnar from LA, he and his girlfriend stayed in Casa Kismet, and like, he left me this like really cool piece of art.
Oh my God.
And Gina just took it off the shelf and was just like slyly walking away with it as if I wasn't going to notice that she was about to go eat it. Gina, that was so weird, but also kind of hilarious and so bizarre and funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a hard question. Now that I'm asking it, I'm like, I guess it depends on how good of friends you are with.
Right. Because I have a famous story with a friend that I saw her boyfriend like making out with a girl.
Right.
In New York.
Right.
Like when we lived in LA.
Yeah.
And Mark and I were here and we like saw this guy at a restaurant literally making like so hardcore making out with a girl. And first of all, I had assumed that he like, this is my own bias, whatever. I had assumed that they were broken up.
Right.
And then I assumed that they had an arrangement because I do know people that were like, that have had things like, oh, when I'm in New York and he's in LA, like we've got an arrangement, it's fine. Right. Or if I'm on tour or if I'm on a location, people have all kinds of arrangements. And like, I am not here to judge.
Even I know people that have arrangements. Right. Like, I'm provincial.
And by the way, guys, if you think you don't know people that have arrangements, I'm here to tell you, you know do. People that
just haven't told
arrangements.
You. They haven't told you because they know you can't handle it.
Because you're a fucking gossip. So just stop knowing it. Just stop. Gina, come here. Come here.
Oh my God.
She's just looking guilty as fuck. What did you do? What are you doing? She's giving me the side eye. Oh my God. Okay, wait. Let's change the subject because I'm over it now. Ooh, BetterHelp.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp.
BetterHelp with a P. BetterHelp. Get better help with change, grief, growth, all the things. BetterHelp. Life is full of twists and turns, and it is important to show up for yourself through all the struggles that life can bring. You know this. We talk about this. BetterHelp online therapy is here for you. They're here for the twists, for the turns. They're going to assess your needs, and they will match you with your own licensed professional therapist in less than 48 hours. We've talked comprehensively about the necessity for more people to be able to access good quality therapy. And, you know, it's not a one size fits all proposition therapy. You can follow all of the like online meme generating therapists you want, but it really does come down to like personalized work. No two stories are the same. No two people are the same. No two people's needs are the same. And with BetterHelp, you can log into an account anytime. You send a message to your therapist. You can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. So you don't have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room, you know, like you sometimes would with traditional therapy. And BetterHelp is so committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches. They make it easy and free to change therapists if you need to. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and they offer financial aid. I'm just going to repeat that. BetterHelp offers financial aid. BetterHelp is a great way to show up for yourself, invest in your well-being. You got to visit their website and read their testimonials. They're posted daily. They're pretty incredible. Guys, I just would encourage you, like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but this is for you. Visit betterhelp.com/busy. That's betterhelp.com/busy and join the over 2 million people who've taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states. That's amazing. This is one of the main things we need to focus on too. We need to focus on all kinds of things, but I really, really believe in therapy and taking control of your stress and your mental health and well-being. So we have a special offer for Busy Phillips is doing her best. Listeners get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/busy. That's betterhelp.com/busy for 10% off your first month. Go get some therapy. Ooh, Sakara. Ooh, Sakara. I don't know. I don't know about that
had
one.
Like a little 50s vibe. Yeah.
It did. I don't know what I was going for. It was like
just like peacefulness, you know.
I was going for peacefulness, mindfulness.
It was a love song to Sakara.
Well, I love Sakara. I really do. Feeling your best starts with what you eat. Sakara helps you not to just live a healthy, balanced lifestyle, but like also to get to truly enjoy it because they have delicious plant-rich meals and functional wellness essentials that build a foundation for radiant health. Listen, Sakara's plant-rich, ready-to-eat meals and functional wellness essentials nourish your body with whole organic ingredients that retrain your palate and help you break up with your sweet tooth for good. Sakara is a wellness company anchored in food as medicine on a mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. They give you the tools you need to transform your life with their organic, ready-to-eat meal delivery program and functional wellness essentials. You know we've talked about them for so long.
We've loved them for so long.
We have loved them for so long. Back on Busy Tonight, long before this podcast, long before Sakara was an advertiser on this very podcast. Do you know what I was doing?
Getting Sakara delivered.
I was getting Sakara delivered, guys, because I return again and again to their nutritionally designed, chef-crafted breakfasts, lunches, and dinners that are made with plant-based ingredients because I really feel like sometimes you just need a little reset, and it really boosts energy and supports my digestion and helps curb sugar cravings, which I'm prone to a little bit, and makes your skin look amazing. Amazing. Plus, I like the ease of a thing that is just honestly handed directly to me.
Me too.
I mean, really, that is part of the reason why I've loved it and returned to it again and again. Sakara has received rave reviews from everyone.
Vogue, Goop, the New York Times.
Me.
And Busy Phillips.
I love them. Right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off your first order when you go to sakara.com/busy, or you can just enter the code BUSY at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/busy to get 20% off your first order. Sakara.com/busy. Yesterday, Birdie and I took Gina to this place. My friend Phil Morrison, you know Phil.
I know Phil, yeah.
Yeah. My friend Phil Morrison was in town a couple weeks ago, and I saw him, and he was like, he came over to the house and he was like, oh, by the way, I just walked past this place and it looks really cool. It's like a place where you take your dog and you can wash them, but it's like they have this big thing that you can it's like a professional thing. You put the tub that you put the dog in, and these little rooms that you go into.
Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds amazing. So anyway, yesterday, Gina, Cricket, and their babysitter, because I had to take the car in. We forgot that it was Memorial Day and scheduled my car service, thinking drop the kids off at school and then go to the car service place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I forgot.
But there was no school.
There's no school. And it was Memorial Day, but I still had to take the car in to be serviced because it was been making a weird noise. And so I had a babysitter come. Also because sometimes it's easier for babysitters to get my kids away from screens. I don't know if anyone else has this experience.
Yeah, well, I can't say with screens, but it's just always easier for someone else to get your kid to do something because they listen to someone else. That's how.
Not always.
That has always been my experience. When Eli was little, he would not do shit that we asked him to do just because he was like a typical toddler. But, and child psychologists get at me if this damaged my kid, but our executive producer of the Rosie O'Donnell show was a former New York City police officer, Bernie Young. And he was a very authoritative man. He was also had been Rosie's manager. And, when my kid was a toddler, he looked up to anyone who was a fireman or police officer because that's what little kids do. And whenever he wouldn't do something, I would just march him right into our executive producer's office, our showrunner's office, and be like, Bernie wants to tell you something. And Bernie would be like, Eli, you got to stop taking your pants off in the daycare. You got to leave your pants on.
Stop it.
And Eli would be like, okay.
Okay. Wait, I'm obsessed with that. Well,
but anyway,
we've been having some screen time struggles in my mine homest. That's not a word. And it is now. And so I was taking the car over, but I said to Mark, I was like, who clearly could have just hung out or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want to call this babysitter and see if there's a version where she can get Cricket off of the screen and into the world. Yeah. Because we do it, we force Cricket to do it. Don't give me a fucking thing about you just got to do it. I'm like, get it. And I do it, but then Cricket's not enjoying, Cricket spends really has sometimes a hard time letting go and then doesn't have fun at the thing that we're then doing, and then it's just hard for everyone.
Right.
But so I had this cute girl babysitter come over. And anyway, I was getting pictures of then just Cricket and the babysitter living their best New York lives. They went to brunch and then
amazing
with Gina, and then they walked Gina along the river, and then they took her to 2 different dog parks, and they did all this stuff, and then brought home essentially a dirt ball, was in place of our dog, was a dusty, dirty ball of fluff.
Yeah.
And, but it didn't matter because I was just like so thrilled, and they had so much fun. And there was like, when I got home from the car dealer, there was like dirt everywhere. The dog had like just tracked dirt and dust everywhere.
Yeah, like a commercial for mopping liquid.
Swiffer. It was a commercial for a Swiffer. So we went to, I looked up like washing your dog yourself places. And I found there are a few here in New York City because it's like getting them into the groomers is such a process.
Yes.
And it's expensive.
Yeah.
Let's just say that,
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like I could have called yesterday and they would have said like, okay, well, we can see Gina like next Thursday or whatever. You know what I mean?
Dirty. She's dirty now.
I need to get this dirt off this dog. So we found this place and Birdie and I took Gina over there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was so much fun.
Oh, I'm glad you had fun.
So it's like this big machine.
Yeah.
And it looks like I'm trying to figure out what it looks like. It looks like, I don't know, like almost like a big soda machine or something.
Okay.
But with like an open area.
Okay.
I have a picture of it. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And it has two hoses, one for
Right.
air and one for the sprayer.
Yeah.
And then it has like a control panel that's like a soda machine, one of those fancy soda machines. So you can like pick what kind of soda you want.
Yeah.
But you pick like first you do
freestyle soda machine.
It's a freeze like exactly. And you can do but then you do like Coca-Cola. No. You do like rinse and then the shampoo comes out with the water.
Oh.
And then you stop that and then you go back to rinse again and then you go to conditioner and you do that and then they even have like flea bath that you put on and like you can let it sit for 3 minutes like while you like massage it in. The water's like the perfect temperature or whatever. And they have this little thing you can like hook. They have special collars that are like rubber collars so your collar, if it's cloth, doesn't get wet.
Oh.
And you put like the little collar on and then it has like a little clip so you can clip them.
So they don't jump down.
So they don't run around. No, they can't jump down though. They're like in a thing. So you're standing up.
Right.
And there's like there's a ledge.
Okay.
And there's a door that opens like a walk-in bathtub.
Like a walk-in bathtub.
It is it's a walk-in bathtub for dogs.
That's amazing.
That's exactly what it is. And then they even have this little like peanut butter or this little like weird rubber bone that sticks to the wall that you can like put peanut butter on.
Wow.
So that they just stand there and like lick the peanut butter, which was always Emily Beebe's trick when we bathed our rescue dog Henry at our old apartment in LA, R.I.P. Henry, is she would like smear peanut butter on the bathtub, put him in, and then like rinse him off.
That's how people clip their dog's nails, by the way. They put saran wrap around their head, smear peanut butter on their forehead, and then when they put their head down to look at the dog's nails, the dog is licking their forehead.
That is truly insane, and I don't know what you're talking about, but like, okay. That is okay. Oh my God, Gina's so hot. It is hot in here, baby. I'm sorry. I feel bad. Casa Kismet doesn't have air conditioning yet.
You got to get that air conditioning for.
I know it's 95 degrees today. Anyway, I'm okay with it. I like being hot, but okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then you get to the like blow dry part, and they even have that little sock thing you put on their head so that their ears are protected and they don't like hate the noise or whatever. Yeah. And then she comes in and she's like, okay, your 20 minutes is up. And I was like, Gina's not even close to dry yet. And she's like, well, you guys spent a lot of time with the washing. She's like, you really only need to do like a 5-10 minute wash. And then the rest of the time is for drying. And I was like, oh, well, you didn't tell me that. But it was okay. She was like dry enough and we could have bought more time, but I was like, no, this is not. This is my journey today.
Yeah.
Sure. And also like it was so hot out that I felt like it was okay for Gina to be damp dry because it might just feel better. She needs to get her summer haircut, I guess.
Plus, you don't want to blow her curls out. Does she get dried with a
Caissie.
diffuser? Do you do the
Caissie.
curly method?
I was trying to do curly method drying.
Do you scrunch her curls?
I was trying to scrunch her curls. We gave her a little damp dry blowout, and then she was good to go. And she was like really happy and trotting home. Like you could tell she felt good because she wasn't dirty anymore. And it's just so much better because I've been trying to bathe her in the bathtub, and it's gross.
It's a lot. You got to hunch over, and then you're like all stressed out because it's also like your bathroom, and your bathroom is getting all gross and like shaking
and your
all
bathtub
over.
and like
and
it's just gross.
It's a lot. I mean, I get it, but like Lincoln always bathes the dogs. We have small dogs, so he bathes them in the kitchen sink, and I'm like, now we have to decontaminate the entire kitchen.
I just felt like for the price was not bad. I feel like it was like,
well, I was just thinking that I would go take a shower in a place like that if I could like choose my treatments to come out of the hose.
It did not feel unlike the places that I would go in LA and use the infrared sauna and then get into the shower after. By the way, you totally could do that, Caissie. You could just go those infrared sauna places. You have your own shower in there, and you could just skip the sauna and just shower.
Yeah, I really miss my Westport, Connecticut flotation tank place because I would go do the saltwater flotation but then they had like a really luxurious shower like right in the little suite, and I would just spend so long, like an hour floating but unlimited showering time, and then you were allowed to like sit in a quiet room and have tea. That's a whole day for me. That would be a whole day.
I think it's fantastic.
And I love using other people's products supplied by other people in their facilities.
I am
That's the only thing.
Aware.
That's the thing I miss about the wing. I know the wing, there was problems with it, right? That's besides COVID, there were issues and the wing had issues. But I miss access to a Dyson Airwrap.
I mean, I do think that's the nice thing about some gyms, too, is that they have that available, the nice products, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm lying. I don't know because I've only ever belonged to like one gym and they didn't have nice products. So
I belonged to a nice gym once, but then it just was like, I think I'm paying too much for the products.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like,
yes.
It's not working for me.
That's a big deal for me when a hotel has nice products. This sounds like a dream to me. I want to go to Gina's dog bath place and take a shower there.
Wait, we've been talking for too long and we didn't even get to two things that I really wanted to talk to.
I know there's a couple things I want to tell you about. So tell me what you...
No, you tell me first because I've been talking a long time.
No, I have talked way more than you today. So yeah.
No.
Busy and I are about to get in a huge fight over who talks the most.
This is the only fight we've ever gotten into.
The first thing is that when we were talking about the patriarchal everything, one of the things I did to keep myself calm this weekend as we went into my big birthday weekend was that I binge watched this show called My Brilliant Friend. Do you know about it?
Well, I read all the books.
You read all the books?
They're my favorite books of all time.
Okay.
And then I didn't want to watch the show because it was hard for me because I was so deeply, deeply invested in the books. And I've read them all like twice.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that you love those books.
I love them so deeply.
Okay, this is so interesting. Okay, so you were right. You didn't want to read the show because you do have to read the show. It's all in Italian. And
Watch the show.
Oh, no, but you have to read the whole thing.
I see what you're saying.
You have to read it. And so that was a challenge because I couldn't be looking at my phone all the time like I tend to do when like you have to read the show. It was so good, Busy. It was really, really good. And I want to read the books now. And Matt and I had a big conversation about who is Elena Ferrante, because I guess it's a mystery about who the author of the books is.
Okay. So I know a lot about, this is like, actually, this is a weird thing that you and I have never discussed. And that I like, because so I was pregnant with Cricket when I was obsessed with those books. And so that was, like about 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had to wait for the last book to come out. Like the translations are fucking amazing.
Oh, great. Okay.
So according to people who speak Italian, people who've read them in Italian and in English, and also Europa Editions is just like a really great publisher who like is very thoughtful about their language, different language translations. That the translation is truly beautiful.
Good.
So I got super into Elena Ferrante as an idea, and then really into the idea that, in Italy, the prevailing idea at the time was that Elena Ferrante was a man.
Right, yes.
Because their culture had a hard time believing that a woman would be able to have such deep insight and be able to write books like this.
Right.
They now know who she is, by the way.
Oh, they do? Mm-hmm. Who is it?
Elena Ferrante. So wait, her real name is Anita Raja.
Okay.
Raja. Anita Raja. Okay. A Rome-based translator.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Okay.
Like people have said that it's like Domenico Starnoni, who is an author and a journalist, who's a man.
Yeah.
And Anita Raja's husband.
Interesting.
And Ferrante has consistently said, no, not a man.
Thank you very much.
I am a woman. And that, and like rejected the questions about her gender being rooted in, a patriarchal idea about like that female writers aren't capable of that.
Right. Well, the show, if you haven't read the books, which I want to read the books now, but also if you have read the books.
Can I send that to you for an adjunct, another birthday present, please? Can you let me send them to you, please?
Yes, I would love that.
God, and
I really want to read them. The show, though, is so well done. It's on HBO Max. There's 3 seasons. I truly watched them in about 2 very sloth-like sittings where I didn't move for hours. And you really have to, you have to pay attention because you're reading the text on the screen. It's very beautiful. The Italian language is beautiful to listen to. I will say, like, trigger warning, there's a lot of violence and,
it's so violent.
But
I will also say this, by the way, I did watch, I think, like the first episode-ish maybe of the TV show because it's on HBO, right? And it's been on for a couple of years now.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So when you read the books, like this is why I've read them several times, especially the first book, it is so, for me, I can only say for me, it was very difficult to keep track of all of the families and the names of the people and the different relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because there's so many, and she even has like in the beginning of the book, like almost like a glossary of people because it's so hard and complicated to like, especially like I'm trying to adjust to even just like the tiny bit of Italian. Jesus. With my Crab Rangoon, and we're gonna go get Italian later. With like even just the small bit of Italian that's in the book, like it was just hard to wrap my brain around.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like there's a huge cast of characters for a book or for a TV show, but it also makes it seem like there's like 60 people in Italy because of how these people's lives keep overlapping and intertwining. But everything that we were talking about earlier about like examining the role of patriarchy in everything is that's what it's all about.
Yes.
But it's also like, it's like a soap opera. It's like a beautiful soap opera. It's so good. And just like, I've never felt like, you know, I'm the person that's always sitting, watching TV going, oh no, this is about to happen. Oh no. And like, there weren't a lot of shocks in you knew everything that was going to happen based on your gut, but like in like a good, I just can't describe it, but it was so, so, so good. I really, really wanted to recommend it to people because it has a lot to do with like everything that we talk about and also like the dynamics of female friendship in the way that patriarchy.
I was going to say that was like to me and the way that patriarchy like interferes.
Yes.
And the way that patriarchy, the way that like money and education, like social status, like all of those things.
Right.
I don't know though about the TV show. Did they get through the story of the lost child?
I believe there's a 4th season forthcoming. So now I have to wait for that.
Here was also my confusion with The Lost Daughter that Maggie Gyllenhaal directed. That's based on one of Elena Ferrante's books.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was confused and thought it was like an American adaptation or something of the 4th book in the series.
Oh.
And I was so confused. But also, that last book in the series is like to this day. Well, that's the only one I haven't read twice.
Oh, okay.
Because
it was
to
too
this
much?
day, it's too devastating for me. And I like the story of the lost child. And I could not stop sobbing for like a week after I read.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I think that's the season that is still yet to come, if I'm correct.
Jesus Christ. I don't even want to. I mean, okay. So anyway, but
that
also
show is so good.
The Days of a But like all of her work is very deeply rooted in those ideas, right? And exploring those ideas. Days of Abandonment is about, the Days of Abandonment is really intense. It's a really intense book as well. And then I haven't read a couple of her other books because I don't know. I was just so fucking obsessed with the Neapolitan novels. I read Troubling Love, which was like her first book. And then I read Days of Abandonment. And I don't think I ever read The Lost Daughter.
Okay.
Because then I think I was confused.
Well, anyway.
I was like, I've read that. But no, I read the story.
So Busy's recommending the books, My Brilliant Friend books. I'm recommending the show if you haven't watched it. I know we're saying it's about like all of these ideas and I'm kind of making it sound like homework or whatever, but it's really not. It's a good show. You'll be into it if you like any type of, I love a period drama and this is post-war Italy.
God, it's so good.
You'll be so into it.
Now I
want
to read those books again. I haven't read them since like 2012, 2013.
That's wild.
Well, and then the last one came out, I don't know, like 2015, I think. 2015.
Anyway.
I had to wait. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I was like not since the Babysitter's Club have I been waiting for a book to fucking come out.
A Sweet Valley High kid again.
Swear to God. I used to wait and go into Brentano's and like be like, is the new Babysitter's Club book out yet? And they would be like, no, busy. We'll call your mom when it's in. We'll call your mother when it's in.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I was like that because Michelle had given me, this isn't gossip, guys. This is just the origin story.
This is just what happened.
Michelle had given me the first 2 books that were out. Those were out.
Yeah.
And oh my God. And then I had to fucking wait. I had to wait for both of them, I think, for both of the last books.
Okay.
Those who leave it and those who stay. I did. Yeah. Cricket was born in 2013. So so I read My Brilliant Friend and The Story of a New Name. I just looked up the dates. I read them back to back in 2012, 2013. Right. Yeah. Because it was over Christmas. Michelle and I were vacationing together and she had just read them. And so she gave me the book, My Brilliant Friend, which I finished on that vacation. And then New Year's 2013, bought The Story of a New Name.
Yeah.
And then, I had to leave. I had to wait for Those Who Leave and Those Who Stay and The Story of the Lost Child every year. And it was not easy for me.
Annoying. People waiting for George R.R. Martin to write the next Game of Thrones.
Is that still happening?
I don't even know, but I do
either.
love how mad people get at that guy. And I love how much he never does what anyone wants.
Feels like he could give 2 fucks.
He
does not.
Does not give a shit. And
he
he's
does not care.
How about you make up a big book about dragons? How about that? Why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? Or shut up and wait for me to do it.
Or fucking shut up. Wait, okay, so that's a great recommendation, guys.
That's a
wholeheartedly.
And then the other thing that I could kind of use some help with is that, remember how I told you that I was getting 1,000 calendar notifications for every single thing I ever put in my calendar?
Mm-hmm.
I did something. I put do not disturb on my computer and my phone so that calendar notifications I wouldn't get 1,000. And it's clearly something I'm doing. I rented 16 cars when I went to Duluth. I get 1,000 calendar notifications. It's something that I'm doing. But
you can just turn calendar notifications off.
I tried to do that and it wasn't working. I was still getting 1,000. And so I put do not disturb on my computer and my phone. And now I get no calendar notifications for anything.
But also it always says that you're on privacy mode, and it goes straight to voicemail.
Yeah. And so that's why it went straight to voicemail and I don't get any calendar notifications. And also I feel like everything I'm putting into my calendar is just disappearing. And so I know that the day is coming when I'm going to miss something really important. And so I had a panic and I took do not disturb off my computer and my phone. And then I got 1,000 calendar notifications from things that happened 3 months ago.
Just put do not disturb on your phone. I mean, on your calendar. No, Jesus Christ. On your computer, but not on your phone.
It's just a mess. I feel like I have to reset it to factory settings or something. You know what I really need to do?
Huh.
I really
Genius Bar?
I need to get Loretta to come spend a day with me. Loretta was my assistant at Busy Tonight, and she was super overqualified to be my assistant and never should have agreed to be my assistant. She can do everything. She was promoted to be a writer, even though I knew that my life was going to go down the drain the second that happened, because she was also hilarious and a great writer. And ever since then, I've never had my shit fully together.
Loretta, are you listening?
Loretta was beloved at Busy Tonight.
Listen,
She's
here's what also
smart.
I'm just going to throw out. We have this community of which you speak. Guys, who wants to be Caissie's unpaid tech intern? Because truly, she could use an unpaid tech intern.
Every time I just try to do one thing, it's like a domino effect of just it just tears apart every other thing I've ever tried to accomplish organization-wise. And then it makes me think about like our calendar conversation and how it's not modern, but sometimes an old-fashioned calendar that you write on.
You got to go back to the root.
Yeah, it's just
I got a calendar to write on.
You did?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I didn't do your method, but I did.
Yeah.
I got a calendar to write on, and I have different colored pencils in the kitchen.
All right.
And so I have dedicated each family member, including Gina, to have their own color.
This sounds great.
And it's just been fine for me, and no one else is seemingly paying attention or using it.
Which is because
people are still stressed and not interested.
But also because
and asking me
the patriarchy.
Right, and the patriarchy, and still asking me what is happening. And I'm
Mom
like,
has to know the calendar. No one else. Just mom has to know what's in the calendar.
I don't know. I mean, I think Mark would take umbrage with that if he listens this week, because he really has taken over in the last many years since we did our talk show.
Yeah.
In the scheduling of it.
Oh, okay.
And
so he's
really like the kids scheduler.
Yeah.
For like extracurricular things. However, I will say they don't really do that much. We really unschedule our kids. Like we like
That's
have
good.
actively unscheduled them in the last several years, because it just was like, didn't feel like it was benefiting them.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was like stressful.
Yeah.
More stressful on everyone. That being said, I am looking at the summertime, and aside from Birdie having like a, few weeks camp thing, yeah, I really haven't planned anything for my kids. I really haven't.
A long summer.
Gonna have to. I just looked into some things. I think there's still room. I think there's some things. I'm gonna figure it out. Ow! Gina just punched me.
She's trying to murder you.
You guys, she is. I'm gonna just take a picture of her to post so that you can all see what I'm dealing with today.
She's feeling
Oh
herself.
my God, she's like, wait, Caissie, I have to just text it to you because you're gonna die. I'm gonna text it to you right now. Oh my goodness, Bev.
Bev is our best friend in a can.
And that sounds weird, but it's not.
But we love her.
We love her. She's fun and sparkly. She's great for gatherings and parties and events. She's great for gifting. We share her with friends. And we love her because I'm the only person that drinks rosé. And opening a bottle is like wasteful.
It's too much.
So until Birdie turns 21, and even then, I'm just kidding. Even then, Birdie knows, Mom, can I get you a can of Bev? No, it's a canned wine brand on a mission to transform the alcohol industry as we know it, creating a voice for women where there really has never been one, and making it very approachable and kind.
Yeah. And I just love, I know you were joking around, but I love the point that you were making in all seriousness, that you can just have a can and it's like in moderation. That's an important thing for me.
Well, for me too, because I'm a little bit the kind of person where, and it's not exclusive to wine, but I'm like a finisher. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I will open anything and feel as though I need to finish it.
To get to the bottom of it, yes.
But because Bev comes in these perfect little sized cans, each can is a glass and a half of wine, which is perfect for me.
The perfect amount. It's amazing. And they have 6 varietals, so you can just have a can for whatever, what if you have a different mood every day. They have Rosé, Sauv Blanc, Pinot Gris, Pinot Noir, and they recently launched Sparkling Rosé, Glam and Glitz, which I love.
I love it. Well, I'm right now going to drinkbev.com/busy so that I'm not a first. This isn't my first order though, so I don't. It's not going to work for me. But you can receive 20% off your first purchase plus free shipping on all orders. You know, if you're wondering which one to order, we like to suggest the best-selling Ladies Night Variety Pack, so you can check out all the delicious varietals. Like we said, there are 6. Go to drinkbev.com/busy or use code BUSY at checkout to claim the deal. That's drinkbev.com/busy. Bev can also be found at retailers nationwide, including Target, Total Wine, Bevmo, and more. But if you get it there, we don't get credit. We really want credit. Guys, we really want credit. Hey, my friends. Caissie and I want to tell you about another podcast we feel like you know about, but if you don't, we would like for you to know about it. You should check it out. It's hosted by some of our favorite, funniest people. We really enjoy them. June Diane Raphael and Jessica St. Clair. It's called The Deep Dive.
You might know June and Jessica from TV shows like Grace and Frankie, The Goldbergs, Space Force, and so much more. You might also know Jessica from being my friend and Busy's friend.
Yes. And being on this podcast.
She's been on this podcast, and you all loved her there.
Yes.
And June Diane Raphael is also a lady that we all know each other, and they're amazing, and you already know them and love them. So there's no reason you shouldn't be listening to them on their podcast, The Deep Dive.
Listen, every week they get into all kinds of things like motherhood and family, feminism, and whether or not to buy a crystal because it's on sale. The answer is always yes. Hear from guests like Caissie Wilson, where she dives into the art of small talk, or Kulap Vilaysack, our friends, both our friends, about the art of the tablescape. It'll feel like you're catching up with a couple of friends sharing their journey about surviving adult womanhood. We love it.
We love them.
We love them. Listen to The Deep Dive now wherever you listen to your podcasts, guys.
We love you, June and Jessica.
June and Jessica, we love you. Deep Dive. Okay, I feel like we can cut down where I was talking about I knew it and gossip. I feel like we can cut that way down because I really want to talk about this play that I saw.
Yes, please.
I feel like I want to start the whole podcast over.
That you do every week, but
I do
every week
because I feel like you and I like ramp into it.
Yeah.
But then we just leave the whole thing. Also, I read that Call Your Daddy podcast article in the New York Times.
Oh, yeah.
Did you read it?
I didn't get to.
It's not that long. It was just a profile of the girl.
Yeah.
I actually was like pleasantly surprised by her answer of the feminist question, because I felt like she was just very much like, I think that I know enough to know that I don't know everything, and that we should like be inclusive and ceding the floor to like people who should have the ability to speak on things. And like, it just felt like at least she knows that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, not at least she knows, I'm sure, like, by the way, no shade to her. I don't fucking know. I just know that I know that the podcast name is Call Your Daddy and it started on Barstool Sports.
Right.
I'm making assumptions. But my only point is like that I feel like with the audience that she has, like being able to get that idea in front of them is like,
it's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
So anyway, what was my point about that?
Were just
she wants to be the female Joe Rogan or whatever.
Oh, good. Good for
and
her.
Yeah, I think that's great. And also the joke that Caissie and I always would have is that I wanted this podcast to be as long as Joe Rogan's podcast because just to counterbalance the amount of time that blowhard gets to talk, I was like, we should also talk for 3 hours. And we do.
We do.
But then sometimes I'm like, but if we did like a tight 90 minutes, I think it would be more successful, this pod.
Yeah. I mean, do people want to hear us talk about... Here's the thing is that, and I say with love, like even when we did Busy Tonight, we way overtaped that show. And
I loved it.
Which we loved, right? Because sometimes you need to like get the guest warmed up and they're ready to like... There were guests that like came onto that show like very salty, like when they sat down on the sofa. True. We would do like a long, luxurious, warm interview with them. And by the end of it, they would come around and be having like the fucking time of their life. And, you know, and I won't say who, but like, you know, concrete examples of people that came to that show that clearly didn't want to be on the show.
Did not want to be there.
Left like giving us all hugs and saying, this is the most fun I've ever had on a talk show. Thank you so much. And, you know, whatever. We also one time left Steve Carell in a box for 20 minutes.
We've talked about this. I mean, God bless.
Because of how long and luxurious like people were allowed to talk. So that was a plus, is that you get good stuff when you're willing to like let it breathe. The minus is that we then had to edit the show down in 2 hours to the 22 minutes that it was. And it's very difficult. And the reason it's difficult is because when you're having like a free-flowing, free-form conversation, there's a lot of like debris that you need to go back and clean out so that there's no reference to it. Like it's hard. There's a lot of moving parts. And so when you cut a big chunk out, then like you're like, oh, fuck, we referred to that 15 minutes prior. I have to go take that out now. And then you're like, oh, fuck, we talked about it 45 minutes later. I got to go take that out.
Right.
And it's also like inextricably tied to this other important thing that we want to keep that we're not cutting out. And so how do I get this part out so that people aren't like, what the fuck are they talking about? So it gets hard. And so it's not an argument that you and I have always had. It's a discussion that we've had.
Did I say argument?
No. I'm saying it's not it's a discussion that we've had where I'm like, I'm fine to make it shorter, but then we just need to talk less. We need to talk for a shorter time so that we don't then have to go fishing for all the little fishies that we need to fish out of the podcast to make it make sense.
Right.
Is that boring? To tell people the behind the scenes of a podcast.
I think people appreciate it.
All right.
Maybe.
So anyway.
I just am saying.
Yes, there's a possibility that this podcast might be more popular if it was shorter. Sometimes it is shorter. Sometimes it's not.
All I'm saying is, though, like, it's clear that we're not the female Joe Rogans. Do you know what I mean?
No, not at all.
And so maybe we should act accordingly. No, I'm kidding. I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. But like, I do think sometimes, I almost feel like maybe you and I should just talk without recording for like 25 minutes or an hour.
That's possible.
Then press record, and then I'll be like, oh my God, wait, Caissie, tell everybody, you know what I mean? I feel like when Shantira was on, and we definitely had more, like we would have more of like an agenda kind of.
Yes.
Maybe we should go back to the agenda.
Yes.
Because I was like writing things down this week, like, oh my God, don't forget to talk about this. Don't forget to talk about this.
Right.
But then I just like, we go on journeys and then we're just like.
Right. Yes. And then it was like,
I'm off talking about gossip, and I wasn't even planning on being there.
Well, we always had like an agenda of things to talk about in case we needed it, but then often we wouldn't address the agenda. And then it got to the point where we never addressed the agenda. So it seemed like a waste of time to write an agenda, but maybe we need one again. You know,
maybe
these are the things that a producer thinks about. But also, like, we used to have a producer, like, you know, helping us out with, and now we're just doing it ourselves. And so I'm like, are we writing an agenda, or are we just going in and winging it? These are all questions.
Because who could say?
That are interesting to have, kind of. But yeah, we can do whatever we want because we're our own bosses.
We are our own bosses. Okay.
Which was entirely the point. But okay, so you saw this play.
I'm not. I know. And now I'm too tired. I don't want to just rush through it.
Don't rush through it.
They're here to get Gina. Hold on a second. I had to send her home. She keeps punching me. She's not, she's unhappy. She's hot. Okay. Bobina's gone. She's on her way back to the air conditioning and the cool. She's not cut out for this.
She's not made for it.
Many people would say the same for me.
That's why you're tired, I think, because you're hot.
I just got some cold sparkling water.
Some sparkling water. That's why you're drained. But tell us about the play, because I know the play that you saw.
Oh my God. It was incredible, you guys. I had been seeing the things around town for it in New York City. Did I tell you about my New York day? Yes, I did. When I went to see Into the Woods and I went to the art show and everything. And so I was like, I'm committed to doing more New York things. And so I made an effort and got tickets to see A Strange Loop on Broadway. And 2 days earlier, Sarah Bareilles went. We didn't even discuss it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I want to go see it. And she's like, busy. It's amazing. Now, I need to say this. I was going to take Birdie with me to see A Strange Loop on Broadway. And I texted SB, Sarah Bareilles, after I saw her Instagram post about it. And I was like, oh my God, I got tickets for this weekend. I'm taking Birdie. And she was like, are you sure? ? And I was like, that's a weird response. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I called her and I was like, wait, what do you mean? Am I sure? And she's like, busy. It is one of the boldest shows I've ever seen in my life. I love the way Sarah talks so much. All four of us ladies from Girls Five Eva have very specific and unique ways of speaking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're all its own journey. But Sarah's like, busy. It's the boldest show I've ever seen. It is just so there. And it is out there and just putting it all out there. And I was like, yes. So, but what? I'm confused. But so Birdie, it's not appropriate for Birdie or what? And Birdie, and then Sarah just goes, there's butt fucking on stage. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And Sarah goes, they say in the opening number, there's going to be butt fucking on stage. That's what they say. And then they deliver. And I was like, oh, right. Okay. And then she's like, also, it's contextually, you need to see it, but there's also some other things I just don't know. I know Birdie's very mature. I just don't know. It might be the kind of thing that you want to see first. I am saying this to all of you because if you find yourself in New York, if you're in New York and you want to go see an incredible Broadway show, I didn't realize that maybe it was not the vibe for kids, A Strange Loop. You wouldn't know it to look at the billboards, right?
Yeah, the playbill.
But I mean, I'm just talking about the billboards. I actually was looking to see if it says it on a line.
They should put it on the billboards.
It's because it is the most Tony Award nominated musical. It's a masterpiece. It won the Pulitzer Prize. It won 5 Drama Desk Awards, including Best Musical. It won the New York Drama Critics Circle. It won the Obies. It won the Lambda Literary. It won all kinds of things.
But it's no Hamilton. It's not. It's Hamilton was packaged in a way that was very family friendly.
Okay, so listen, It does, when I go down into the frequently asked questions, is there an age recommendation? Is there? And it says recommended for ages 16 plus. Explicit language, simulated sexual content, right?
Okay.
I also think contextually, like I didn't get to see the Alanis Morissette musical that was up for a while. Do you know? I can't remember what it was called.
Was it called Jagged Little Pill?
Yes, that's exactly what it was called.
I thought.
So I didn't get to see Jagged Little Pill, but I did hear from some friends that there's like a pretty jarring rape scene in the musical.
Yeah.
And, you know, these are the kinds of things where like, and by the way, the simulated sex scene in A Strange Loop, like, is not rape. It is consensual, but it is a complicated situation. And,
yeah.
Like, and it's complicated in all of it. It's like it's just fucking complicated. And, you know, I brought up the thing about Jagged Little Pill because I was fully going to go see it. And a friend of mine was like, hey, TW, just so you know, they don't have one on the, like, there. But like that can be really upsetting to a person who has been through a sexual assault, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and similarly in this, like, I was like fully just going to take my 13-year-old, and Birdie like can handle a lot of stuff. I mean, the kid has watched Bridgerton. You guys know we've talked about the shameless of it all.
Yeah.
But that being said, like watching a thing on stage is so intense already.
Yeah. Right.
Because the performers are in front of you. You're like seeing their spit and their sweat and everything. And the nuance of like the situation, and then how like the song after, I was like sobbing. The song after the sex like number.
Yeah.
The sex number.
The
song
scene.
After the sex scene. Well, it also is like there's a song too with the sex, you know? But the song after is not available on iTunes yet, and I'm bummed because I really wanted it to be. But it's called No Boundaries. And so like that could give you an idea of like how things like take kind of a turn, you know?
Yeah.
And the main guy is like, why did I do that? Why did I allow that? Like, I don't, you know, I have no boundaries, you know?
Right.
And anyway, all that being said, I like didn't have anyone to go with me, and I was then I was like, oh no, I can't. Like now this was my big plan,
right?
And I didn't want to just not go. I had gotten these tickets; it was like a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was sort of scrambling, looking, and then I remembered that my friend Mae Whitman, is now in town for a little bit because she's working on a TV show that I don't know if it's been announced, so I won't say what it is, but she is. And so I texted her and she was like, oh my God, yes, like in 100%.
Great.
And so the podcast came out on Friday. Mark and I were both feeling like a little twingy weird.
Yeah.
On Saturday, we didn't get into, it wasn't like an argument, but we just were like, I don't know. We got like a little bit like snippy with each other about some stuff. And I was like, stop reading it, like the articles and things. I'm like, just don't read it. Don't look at it. And he's like, well, it's easy for you to say, you know? And I was like, yeah, well, it is. But also like, stop looking at it through the veil of fucking patriarchy and like whatever. Right. And then we got just like a little bit into it. And I was just like going on and on. I don't know. It was just interesting. I was like really focused on all of this stuff, you know, like toxic masculinity and like, and patriarchal ideas and like, you know, white supremacy being at like the root of so much of everything, you know, and me being like this fucking white girl who never shuts up and like, You know what I mean? No,
Yeah.
seriously. I'm like, just like, and I'm a part of the fucking problem, but like at the same time, I've got the goddamn mic. So what are you supposed to do? You know, like, how are you supposed to show up? Like, I'm trying. Like, anyway, like all of these things. And then May meets me. We scarfed some burgers, ran in, peed in the bathrooms at the theater.
Thank you for clarifying.
But we had to like jump out. We were like running late, you know, like it was like traffic was terrible. There was some parade. There's always a parade. You know, we had to like jump out of our Uber and like basically run up the street to get into the theater. We ran downstairs, like run into the restroom. This woman is coming out and she's like, holy shit, to me.
Right.
I'm wearing a mask, but she knew who I was and she was like, holy shit. And I was like, oh my God. And she's like, sorry, I just love you. And I was like, oh my God, that's so nice. Thank you. I'm going to pee so we can see the show. So we like pee, we sit down, just sort of like, and outside of like what Sarah had told me, I knew literally nothing about the play. And so part of me is like, do I tell you guys? Because I do want you all to, I hope at some point you all are able to somehow experience this remarkable piece of theater. And actually, I didn't know this existed until later that night after I got out of the show. There was a tiny desk concert thing that they did, that A Strange Loop did.
Yeah.
And Michael R. Jackson, the writer who wrote the book and lyrics, explains a lot of what the show is and when they go through the songs. Now, the show is, and they say this many times in the show is about young, I think he calls himself fat, like young, fat, black, queer usher at a Broadway show at the Lion King on Broadway, who is trying to write a musical about a young, fat, black, queer usher at the Lion King on Broadway show who's trying to finish his musical about. It's like the adaptation about a young, fat, queer. It's like the adaptation of musicals, like you know, and it's also incredibly, beautifully and, as Sarah Bareilles said, boldly done. To be taking up like this incredible space and like, oh no, I'm gonna cry. Like asking all of these questions, like who gets the mic, and like in real life, the man who wrote the music and book is named Michael Jackson, Michael R. Jackson. In the play, his name is Usher. And he is an usher. Yeah. And then the supporting players fill in not just the thoughts inside his own head, but also other important people in his life. Yeah. And it sort of is all like interwoven and fluid. And like the people that play his parents are like, that's constantly multiple people play his mom, multiple people play his dad. Got it. There's a company, you know, there's like 6 players around him that are doing it. And then Usher is just played by one actor who was incredible. And we saw the understudy. Oh, wow. His name was Kyle. I looked him up on Instagram. Hold on, I want to say his name because he was pretty fucking amazing. Kyle Freeman. Okay. So Kyle Freeman is the understudy for Usher, but he went up in the performance that I saw I don't know how many times he goes up. He was like such a fucking star and so talented and so. If you watch the Tiny Desk concert, it's the guy who is like originated the role. It's the actor who originated the role.
I'm so happy you got to see it, and I'm so happy. I'm thinking of loyal podcast listener William Flood. He was also talking about A Strange Loop on Broadway recently and got me really hyped to try to go see it.
Who is the what? Huh? Who?
A friend who listens to the podcast, William Flood, and he always has great thoughts on the podcast, and he always shares stories about his thoughts on the podcast. But he recently was in New York City and saw A Strange Loop, but he saw it with John Andrew Morrison,
who's the guy who normally
I think is the normal lead. Yeah, but I'm so glad you got to see it with the understudy, and that he was also fantastic.
I mean, beyond fantastic. Like, I was so truly like floored by his performance. Oh my God.
He's amazing.
Yeah. He's amazing. By the way, they say about the show, Meet Usher, a Black queer writer writing a musical about a Black queer writer writing a musical about a Black queer writer. He does, I just want to say this. I'm pretty sure he calls himself fat many times throughout the thing, and it's like a part of his identity.
Yeah.
And it's like very important. Like, it's an important distinction in the show because he is like grappling with his identity and how to show up as his most authentic version of himself. And so much of it, he feels a lot of like he feels hemmed in by his body and like, skin and how he's perceived in his identity, like how he's perceived. And looping around again, like the third or fourth song in the show is called Inner White Girl. First of all, it was not lost on me almost immediately in the very first song when he like casually picks up this like Liz Phair CD. Yeah. And like is like looking at it. And Tori Amos and Liz Phair are like name checked early on.
Right.
And so that was like, at first I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What are we doing here? What's happening? And then Inner White Girl is this song. And I was like beside myself, like sobbing, because the truth of that song, it's about like how when he wants to run away and hide, he has to like access his inner white girl because she doesn't care.
Right.
If she ruffles any feathers, like she can do anything because white girls can do anything.
Whatever they want.
Whatever they want. And they get to be bold and they get to be weird and they get to be funny and they get to be sexy and they get to be demure and they get to be confrontational. And the same thing is just not afforded to Black boys. Anyway, it's a fucking beautiful song, and the truth of it hit me real fucking deeply.
That's very cool. I'm so glad you got to see it. It's also, I'm noticing, co-produced by Mindy Kaling, so good for her.
Oh, it's co-produced by so many people. Like, yeah, I actually asked someone about that. Stephen Colbert is a co-producer.
Oh, great.
Don Cheadle and his wife are producers on it. Ilana Glazer is a co-producer. I was annoyed that I wasn't, if I'm being honest. When I was like looking at the program, I was like, interesting. How did I miss that?
Can you ever become a co-producer after the fact?
I mean, maybe this just in my telling, I mean, maybe I am now.
Do they ever do a round of adding new producers?
Sure. Well, yeah, of course they do.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe in the future.
Well, I don't have any money right now, but.
Because that's what being a producer means, by the way. Giving some money to.
It's literally all it means. It's investing in the play with your money.
Yes.
And normally, like, producers of Broadway shows put up millions of dollars.
Yes. Yeah.
But I do think because this is sort of like how many co-producers there are on the show,
that maybe it was smaller.
I think that it was like, I think they were able to.
It's not mysterious billionaires putting up.
Yeah. I think I think it was more like, like angel investors, where it's not $400,000. It's I don't know what it was.
Who knows? Who knows?
I wasn't there. I wasn't asked.
You weren't. You didn't know what the buy-in was.
I would have done it if I'd had the money and been asked and knew and had the information. Anyway, also I really want to meet Michael R. Jackson now because I feel like we have a lot of cultural overlap and obviously our loves of Tori Amos and Liz Phair. And I want to talk to him in depth about how I think Exile and Guyville gave me no boundaries.
Wow. Michael R. Jackson, I know you're busy, but if you're listening to us...
You want to have coffee?
You have a lot going on. If you're listening to us, maybe you'd want to come on the podcast, or maybe you just want to have coffee with Busy.
And just like geek out about like...
Tori Amos. Things.
I saw on his Instagram, I think, because of course I stalked him most of the next day on Instagram, that Tori went to the show, which is that
amazing. Must have been really exciting.
I wonder if Liz Phair does, because also I think that he says this thing Usher says this thing has a line in the show where he's like, well, I was trying to write a musical using all Liz Phair's songs, but she said no, or she wouldn't give me permission. And I can only imagine that that's true.
Maybe.
Well, it seemed true. Do you know what I mean?
Why would you say it? Why would you make the point of saying it if there wasn't a nugget of truth to it? But maybe it's just a good line. Who knows? But it sounds really exciting. I would love to see it. Maybe William Flood, who listens to the podcast, wants to go back and see it, and maybe I'll go with William Flood.
Just come. I'll go back with you. I told Mark he has to go see it, so he's going to go in a few weeks maybe. I also do think there's a version where Birdie could see it, but I do agree with that 16 years old. I think Birdie's a little too young.
It's not for them yet.
It's just not yet.
I think that's good. And I think it's good. You know what I think is good? I think it's good that you saw a thing and that Mark's going to see it and you all can discuss it. And then you don't even you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just good for grownups to have a thing to discuss.
I mean,
and yes. You don't have to, have that conversation. Not that, you're against having conversations with your children, but sometimes it's just nice to have a conversation with Sarah Bareilles about the boldness of A Strange Loop on Broadway and not your kid.
Yes.
Who's not your social peer, as you pointed out last week. Was it last week? I don't know.
Who knows?
Recently.
Yeah. But it is true. It's definitely true.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that.
Yeah. And it's hard because sometimes kids will trick you. They seem so savvy and so sophisticated.
This is what I was saying. My child has tricked me many a time.
Oh my gosh.
I hope I did an okay job explaining it. I don't know.
I think you did. I think you did.
I'm like obsessed with it. It was like also just like what it means to be an artist, what it means to try to like put yourself in. Because also as an inner white girl with a microphone.
Yeah.
As an outer white girl. An outer white girl with
I am an white girl inside you.
We don't even know who's inside of me at this point. But like and an artist, like I do struggle with like how much of my also Jesus Christ, Busy, get it the fuck together. Think about what you're going to say.
Had an
before
epiphany.
You think it. God damn it. All of the things that I'd been sort of like grappling with in terms of even like the amount to which I put myself, like my personal, into my work and my professional, and if that's beneficial to me or to others, what the value of it is, and if the toll of it is too great for the people around me. And that is like so much a part of what the musical like kind of deals with as well, which is that like drawing on our trauma and our personal experiences as artists and putting that into the world to create a shared experience where others can say like, I feel seen, I feel known, I feel gotten. Like that is the reflection of a thing that I've never gotten to see reflected back to me. I had been struggling, that day in particular. It has been a struggle for me many times over the last many, many, many years of my life, which is that like when I changed sort of ideologically what I wanted to do as an artist. And sorry if now we're just inside the fucking actor's studio, guys. I can't help it. It is also a part of who I am.
Yes.
But like ideologically, when I sort of like shifted and had the realization of like what I always was trying to do as an artist, and then brought my like actual personal like into it in such an intense forward-facing way. And that changed all kinds of things for both you and I.
Yeah.
And like a little bit like at what cost to me?
Yeah.
At what cost to my family? At what cost to my parents? At what cost to the people that I write about in my book? At what cost? And, he like so beautifully explores all of this, all of those ideas, and puts it out there. And as just a viewer who sits outside of a lot of what he was speaking to and showing as the outer white girl, I just felt like, thank God I get this perspective.
Right.
Thank God I get this beautiful piece of art to watch about this person's experience in this body, in this world at this time. And thank God he was brave enough to really show warts and all how it's been and how it continues to be and how it affects him and people in his community. And because I'm an outer white girl, I of course made it about me. I'm teasing, but like kind of not. But like it was like I was so incredibly grateful for it. And then I thought like okay, I can like give myself a break a little bit too, you know, because I get like, you know, especially with talking about my family and like, I've done that, you know, when Mark says like, Google it, like, I know I've done that. Like, yeah. I know I've shared some like really ugly fucking things about a person that I love and I had children with, you know? And I've also shared other things too. And it's complicated because so much of life is complicated for people. And guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just read my book. Don't fucking go Google, because as we know, they're terrible at extrapolating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you haven't read my book, then
it's at the library.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's at the library. You can get it on audiobook and it's just like be like this podcast because it's about as long. I mean, I'm not kidding. I think it is this long. Anyway, I just, and my parents, and like I think about my parents and like I know how hard my book was for my mom, when it first was coming out. And I know it really took her like seeing the value in like me sharing my stories of my life for her to kind of like, my mom's not, Barb listens to the podcast. Like my mom will always be the one who's like, I always have encouraged your boldness. And she has 100%.
Yes.
And also, Barb, and also, there are things that I think have been difficult for her to have to see.
Well, yeah.
How it affected me.
Yes.
Yes. Because everybody's experience is unique, right?
It's complicated. It's so complicated because it really is an illustration of how the way that someone in your life, the way that you interact, the way that you're intersectional sometimes in social groups, but directly in your own life, the way that someone lives or something that they do then becomes your story if you're involved in it. And then you're making a choice whether or not to tell that story and how honest you're going to be about the way that it affected you. And everybody has their own story, but then our stories are interconnected. I think about it all the time, Busy, and you know this about me, is that people tell me this all the time. People in my life who I think love me and are protective of me, but also probably somewhat protective of themselves, say to me all the time, you should write a memoir. You should write a movie. And I cannot tell you how many times I've looked a person dead in the eyes and not said out loud, but thought to myself, you are the last person who should be encouraging me to write anything because it would come for you.
Is that me though? That's not me though, right?
No, not yet.
I mean,
no, I think you and I
had to ask.
I think one of the reasons why, I'm so grateful to have you in my life is that like I'm able to be fairly honest with you about even things that are uncomfortable, like when uncomfortable things have happened between us, as they should happen between people that have been friends for a long time. It's going to happen.
And work together too.
Yeah, and you work together and like lived through all this shit together. But I'm just talking about like there are people that like, they blithely say like, you should write your story. You should, and I'm like, I don't think you really want that. I don't really think that you're thinking. And so it becomes hard because like, in your case, I think like people love you and are protective of you, but also protective of themselves.
Sure.
But they want to like encourage you to do, to do your thing and to like write your story. But sometimes that's difficult.
Well, and I have to say, like, Mark was very generous in my book.
Yes.
Of, like, generous, by generous, I mean...
saying, like, do your thing.
Yeah, his response was always, like, your book is so truthful. We've gotten this far, like by we, he means me. Like,
yeah.
You've gotten this far, like write your fucking truth.
Right.
And I think that neither one of us, I mean, certainly we're not fucking idiots. And we understood like culturally, like clickbait culture and celebrity, blah, blah, blah. But we were like mostly right. That like, then people just focused on James Franco for most of the like beginning press of it. But the like slow burn of pulling out ways in which, are the things that I wrote about Mark and like putting those things online and like, and I spoke to it a little bit last week when we were talking about it, but like it's not just him. It's like our kids,
Right.
it's like our extended family. It's like his parents had to deal with that.
Right.
Like his parents had to deal with like the neighbors or the people in their community who like saw some of those clickbaity extrapolated articles that were like Busy Phillips says husband quote was useless whatever the fucking thing was, know?
Right.
And also, not that, by the way, my book is on nearly the same fucking level of like a strange loop. That's not what I'm trying to say at all.
Right.
I'm just trying to say that like, or the point that I am trying to make is that I do also know that I said things that a lot of women our age have felt and weren't saying.
Yes.
And
it rang a bell.
It rang a fucking bell for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there's relief in that. Like there's relief in like seeing your experience or a version of your experience reflected back to you from an artist or from, on a show, on a TV show. I mean, mine is, and that's also the distinction, right? Like mine is a little different. Like, when you write a movie or a TV show and you put things in it that are deeply personal, you can always say publicly, no, that's not based in anything. That's just
right.
That's like it's an aggregate of like a bunch of different things.
Right.
You don't have to take ownership in the same way that you do.
You're not naming names.
Well, right. I fully named names. Let's be real. But by the way, in a strange loop, so does he.
Right.
Because it's like, it's about his family and like parents and Tyler Perry. He talks about Tyler Perry.
Oh, wow. And Liz Phair. So.
And Liz Phair.
Which we're assuming are like.
And kind of the Lion King. He really does name names. Like that is actually a really interesting distinction too.
Huh.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, there's every chance in the world that Mark will write a movie at some point that will ring a bell for you, that will feature, Oh,
by the way, he's already pitched it to me and like I thought he should. I mean, I was like, I love that idea for you. Like it's not, I think you should write it and direct it and like yourself. Like I don't even think you should do it with your partner. Like I think you should do it. And yeah, I mean, those conversations like all the time, right? Like Noah Baumbach, Greta Gerwig, like people who, clearly use parts of their histories in their own. So many
Nora
people do
Ephron.
it.
I mean,
the
best to ever do it. The best to ever do it. And, and leaving people wondering, like, is this the exact same story? Is it elaborated? Is it embroidered? Or is it just really what happened? But there may come a time when Mark writes a movie that, a lot of you is in and people will wonder, is it the exact story?
I'll only be pissed if I'm not cast as the part. You know me. Oh, I'm not good enough for your movie. I'm good enough to inspire it, but I'm not good enough to star in it. Well, I hope Reese nails me. Good luck to her. I only say that, guys, by the way, it always feels like I'm picking on Reese. I'm not picking on Reese. I only say that because once early on in our relationship, Mark had a movie that I loved the plot of.
Yeah.
Like Mark and Abby had a movie and then they sold it to Reese for her to star in. Mm-hmm. And then it ended up they wrote the script, but it ended up not getting made. But I was bitter at the time.
Yeah, you got bitter about it. I know. I have a similar thing with Sandra Bullock, because when I worked at the Late Show, if you were cast in a bit to do something on the show, that night, for me, it would double my salary, which I think I've said. I think I would get an extra $450. And one time I was cast in a bit to throw a dummy of Dave off the roof of the building. And then at the last minute, Sandra Bullock wanted to do it.
That's not true.
It's true.
And you didn't get your bump?
And I didn't get my $450.
Oh, man.
And I was like, Sandra Bullock doesn't need that $450. And then
she had no idea. If she had known.
She had no idea.
Of course. And if she had known, know if she had known, she would have been like, oh my God, no. Let her do it, please.
But it's just one of those things. Every time I think of Sandra Bullock, I'm
so funny.
I really wish I had that $450 from that time. But that's what I'm saying. Every time you think
with inflation, I mean, what are we even asking for now?
Maybe $900. Who knows? But I just think every time you think of Reese Witherspoon, it's going to be hard for you personally not to think of that one movie that you really wanted to star in. That your husband was involved with, and you didn't.
Well, he's not my husband anymore. So no, I'm kidding. So the joke's on me. Turns out you shouldn't hold on to things like that.
I feel like we both have kind of talked about what we did our best at this week, but do you have a specific thing?
I think I managed pretty well, I just managed.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you can do is I managed. And yeah, and then I was really grateful for the kismet of having those tickets and getting to see that play, that musical, the day that I did, because I think it really meant a lot to me in that moment to see that.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons.
That's good. I think that's great. I also just managed. I did my best at managing. I think that I didn't even have to do my best this week because you took such good care of me, and my husband and family took such good care of me, and my friends took care of me, and our friends who listened to the podcast literally did more than their best. They went above and beyond and did outstanding shit in honor of my birthday, more than the best. So I didn't even have to do my best because you all took the wheel.
You guys are the best.
Yeah. And wait, one thing I do want to tell you about, this is not deep at all, but do you remember a while ago when we were doing the podcast and you said none of this was on my bingo card? People were like, I really want a t-shirt that says none of this is on my bingo card, which of course we put out a lot of t-shirts on our merch on Brave Gowns, the Brave Gowns website. But Summer and I had a little bit of an idea, and we're trying to make it. And I'm still not sure if it's going to work out, but I think it's going to work out. But do you want to hear what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a none of this was on my bingo card, beach blanket towel, but then it has a bingo game on it.
I love it.
So you can play none of this was on my bingo card bingo at the beach this summer.
It's brilliant.
It's
brilliant. It's brilliant.
We're working on it. It's coming to you Also, like podcast housekeeping, a lot of people frantically messaged me yesterday that they couldn't access any of the podcasts. It was like a platform-wide outage that the platform where we all host our podcast had like an outage yesterday, which was, but here's what I will say. And this is not to chastise anyone, because there was a time when even I wasn't doing this for our own podcast. But if you had our podcast set up where you were subscribed and it automatically downloaded, you would have had the episodes that you wanted, even when the outage happened. So
Ooh, you're in trouble now.
So I'm just saying, if that is something that if you just want to, it takes a little bit of figuring out, but it's not super complicated. If you want to just figure out how to go onto your preferred podcast page and subscribe to this podcast and then set it up so that it automatically downloads and it's in your phone, then you listen to it and your phone deletes it, or it holds on to it till you're ready to listen to it. That would mean that you'd always have the podcast, even if there's like an outage or something that affects whoever.
Or if you're on an airplane.
Or if you're on an airplane and you want to listen to it, or you want to listen to it in your car and you don't have Wi-Fi, that'd be great. But it's also really important for us at the podcast. That's how we that's the only metric by which advertisers know how we're doing, how we're doing.
That we're doing our best. And scene. You guys, thank you so much for the past 7 hours. We love you so much. And oh my God, that laugh was so dumb. So she's lost it now. But we really do. And we appreciate all of your wonderful ways in which you show up for yourselves, for others, for Caissie, for her birthday. And I just want to say, I knew it! No, I love you guys!
We love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Oh no.